What's up, it's Jim from On Point Samples, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can go from a Pluck to a lead in Serum 2. This might sound insignificant, but it's very important when you're making hardstyle because the way you set this up is going to affect how your track sounds in case you want to add this effect to your leads. This is the effect that we're going for. If you want to follow along, you can download the FLP, the presets, the melody, and some extras with the link below. I will show you the basic setup and some pitfalls to really look out for when you're making hardstyle because those come up and you don't want to do it the wrong way. Let's copy the melody over into an initialized preset. Let's play it. I'm going to pitch it up an octave just so it's more comfortable. First thing you want to do is open filter 1. Here you can select which oscillators are going through it. So if you're doing a lead with ABC, make sure you're selecting ABC and the noise as well. Otherwise it won't go through the filter. Let's keep it contained to A for now. After you've enabled your filter, we're going to use an envelope that is going to affect the cutoff of the filter. Just take down this node here, which is also the sustain, and make the shape look somewhat like this. We're assigning this right here, but when you do that, it's immediately going into bipolar. So if you do Shift, Alt, click, it will make it unipolar, or in the matrix, click on the polarity here to make it unipolar as well. Now, when you drag this down, there's something important that you need to know. You might think it's only going to play the envelope between this range, but when I take down the amount here, you can see it doesn't really change it yet because it's kind of hidden after the 100%, and that's going to affect the sound of your pluck. So when you're doing this and you want your pluck to start here, make sure you're also selecting the right range. If I take this down now, that's what we're aiming for. We want to kind of go low and have a little bit of high information, but not too much. This really comes down to preference, but let's start with this. So before we get into it, this is also the stage where you choose your filter. There's a lot of low pass filters in Serum 2, and they all sound different. The MG Low, the Moog Low series comes with a few steepness. If you want a very tight pluck, put it on a slope of 24. Other options are the normal low series, or in the MISC filter, you can use the German low pass, French low pass, or add bass. Some of these come with custom modes. So for example, if you want to have a very interesting resonance or some kind of interesting transition, you can use the buff mode in the French filter with some resonance, as you can hear. Few final ones are the new additions in Serum 2, which might be like MG ladder, acid ladder, EMS ladder, and MG30. We're not going to get into this too much. We're just going to use the normal MG Low 12. So if you want to go from a pluck to a lead, you basically just move the cutoff and it opens up the filter and thus opening up more high frequencies, and it makes it a lead. But notice as I'm moving the filter, there comes a point where it doesn't really change it too much anymore. It's already lead. It's here, right? What you want to do is create a macro that you can assign to the cutoff, and then just make sure you're selecting the range until that point where it doesn't really do anything anymore. Because you don't want to play the macro and then kind of be done with the pluck here. Because you're going to automate this and drive it to 100% and it's not going to do much anymore. So, see? So at this point, if you play a note, you might think you're done. But as you can see, it still cuts off your lead. And I don't want that. When it's 100% open, I just want the normal lead without any filter affecting it. So how you can change that is to assign macro 1 to the mix. Basically telling Serum at 0 macro, I want a full pluck filter, but at the end, I don't want any filter. So if I take that down, you see that it's disabled at 100% and enabled at 0%. But the issue now is that it's going to blend the mix. So the lead is already going through here. How you fix that is going into the matrix, finding the curve of macro 1 affecting the filter wet, and then just making it do nothing except at the end here. Boom. You have a very smooth transition. Something that I don't like here is that it goes to a lead very fast. So in the matrix, you can change the curve of macro 1 affecting the cutoff. So it's just going to change into a lead a bit more slowly. So after you have done that, you can also hear how the dynamics change a bit, right? The lead without the filter has more volume than with the filter. I don't want that. So what I'm gonna do as well is have the macro affect the drive. Take this down a lot. Then make sure it's up at 0% and goes down at the end. Then the issue is that that also gradually decreases. So go to the matrix and have this do nothing until the end. Now just find a good balance between the level of the pluck and the lead. You can do this by ear. So a nice effect to add with another macro is affecting the length of your pluck. If I want a very snappy pluck, you can just do that by adding macro 2 to the decay. I want it to be short at the beginning, and then when I open the macro, it should be longer. So I just make it go right there until around 1.7 to 2 seconds, and then I can just affect the pluck length. And this is a cool macro to affect with macro 1, because now we can say, hey, if I'm down here, I don't want a long pluck, but it needs to increase over time. Perfect. One thing that you can also modulate is the resonance. Let's have that start at 0 and maybe open it up a bit. In some scenarios, you might want a bit more resonance, right? So hear how it becomes more like pew pew instead of like just a normal filter. So another small trick that you can do at this point is use envelope 3 on a very fast rate, just if you want more of a click in your pluck, just like so. You hear the difference? Without, with. I'm adding some detune just to make it sound a bit more like a final lead. So this is the setup. I explained a lot of details, which you maybe thought is a bit too much, but it really does help to set this up once, because at this point you can just duplicate the preset and work with it. There's one more thing that you have to look out for. Let's say that I make a lead that's a bit more distorted. For example, euphoric lead, quickly making one, putting this on chaos arrange, hertz, 100, 1000, coarse pitch, taking down the output of that, adding a bit of unison, taking down the randomization, different waveform just to make it a bit more analog. White noise, change that to normal white noise, distort that, diode, and just using the top lead instead of that double. Since I added the white noise here, make sure you definitely select it in the filter. Otherwise, when I change the cutoff filter, it's not gonna work. But listen what happens when I take down the cutoff now after distorting it. It gets very distorted because the filter generates the pluck and then we're distorting it. And I don't like that effect. So if you know that you're gonna make a lead that kind of has a lot of distortion, you might as well just do this setup here inside of the filter, because that way you can just change the position of the filter, right? If I add distortion, you distort it first and then you add the filter. You might ask, like, why didn't I just do it in the effects immediately? Well, it's because a lot of people will just instantly go to this filter. It's visualized nicely, and also this filter here allows for splitting, which you cannot do in the effects. So maybe you would want to, it really depends on your lead, but maybe you want to create a pluck first, split that up, and then add your effects. You know what I mean? There's no mixer routing if I would have done it here. But in case you find yourself distorting a sound, just duplicate what I did. MG low 12, LFO 2, cutoff, shift click alt down, just so it looks somewhat like a pluck. Envelope 3 to the cutoff 2 to make it clickier. Then just add the cutoff macro to the cutoff. Same range that we did before, as you can see, and then also add that to the mix here. Then just take that down so that at 100% is 0. Now that you have your macro to the cutoff and the mix, you can do the same thing that you did here with these curves. First, we're gonna find macro 1 affecting the cutoff. I just want that to go a little bit like this so it doesn't really go to the lead too fast. And then finally, we're gonna have it affect the mix, but only at the end. So now we basically created a pluck here, distorted the pluck there, and then made a pluck again, you know? And now it really doesn't matter too much to use the filter here. So at this point, I'll show you how you can duplicate Serum too, and then also automate your macros. So if I now duplicate my lead and I change this one, for example, remove the distortion and the filter, and then add this one here again and add unison. And I do that one more time. For this one, I'm using a different wavetable, different detune, add another oscillator, make sure it's routed here, right? They're all gonna be the same pluck, which is exactly what we'll need. And now you can just automate the macro. This will depend on your DAW, but for FL Studio, move macro 1, tools, last tweaked, create automation clip. This automation clip here, we can put underneath our pattern, and then you can just open that up. But now you just need to automate the other cutoffs as well. So move them for every Serum instance and just do last tweaked, but then go to link to controller and find the automation clip you've just created. Do that again. And now all your macros will move only based on this automation clip. So it's a small effect, but it makes a very big difference as to how you produce a song, because you don't get stuck into trying to replicate the same pluck. It's just like you set it up right once and then that's that. So don't forget to download the FLP, the presets, and some extras for free with the link below. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what else you want to see, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.